So in here, we've got temporary fence. And there's a few things that we've got under our temporary fence. We've got the temporary fence panels. We've got the blocks, the clamps, and maybe shade cloth or whatever. And then we've got a minimum temporary fence charge. The minimum temporary fence charge is basically if I'm saying that my minimum, say my minimum hire is 100 meters of fencing or 50 meters, because if I only wanted 30 meters of fencing, it's not even worth it for me to do it at $1.50 a meter per meter or whatever it is. So what they do is they charge this fee. So they're saying our minimum hire is 12 weeks. So for the first 12 weeks bill, it's going to be 400. Then after that, it's $75. So what that means is that we don't have to worry about the amount of meters or panels in the job. So that's example one. The other example is that we charge by the meter. And if we look at our rates and kits, we're basically saying that weekly, this is $1.50 a week per meter. And then at the end of it, with this temporary fence panel, we've turned this on, this meter charge. So we're saying that it's a meter charge, right? So we're going to charge by the meter. The other thing that we're saying is that when one panel goes out, we want to put one block and one clamp. And do we want to show it to the customer on the docket? Yes or no. So you can turn that off if you don't want it. Now, the other thing here is that we've put the panel size in. So we're saying this is a 2.5 meter panel. All right, now, and we can save that. So creating a job, now we just say new rental. Basically, who is it? It's Joe Blow. I'm just going to get somebody different because I always use these couple for my demo. Let's just say Oliver. It's a minimum 4 weeks, which is you're saying, right? Starting Friday, whatever, starting next Monday, for 4 weeks. Now, we've got long-term turned on here. So what that means is that the initial period, it doesn't really matter anyway. It's going to be, the first bill is going to be for the 4 weeks. And then if they want to continue it on, then we're going to start billing them. Next bill, we're going to bill them if they haven't returned the fences on February 10. So now what I do is I go to my items and I pull up my category of fencing and I add my fence. Now, here's my panels. So basically the difference now is it's asking, because we've ticked in the inventory how many meters, it's asking me how many meters is it. And so if it was 125 meters, for example, so what we've got is we've got temporary fence panels, 125 meters. And so what this does is it just calculates the panels because we've said they're 2.5 meters. So it's 50 panels required, 50 blocks, 50 clamps for 4 weeks at $1.50 a week. So that's $7.50. And then we just go through to print an email. There's our contract for that 4 weeks. So you can see units is 4 weeks, 1.5, and the GST, obviously it's yours is a bit more. In Australia it's 10%. So that's the contract if we were sending contracts out. And then all we got to do is go and take the money. So we do the first booking invoice. And it's just for 4 weeks, which is our minimum anyway, 125 meters. And we've got this turned on, which is just, I wouldn't have that turned on. Now, do you charge for delivery?
Yes.
Okay, so the other thing that we would do is I'm just going to delete this and make sure down the bottom we've got delivery. So how much would you normally charge for delivery?
65.
65 and 65 to collect it?
Yep.
And then we'll just create I'm going to just turn off this damage waiver, daily access.
We also have another charge, which is a setup charge. Would that be similar to, like how would we set that up?
Well, depending on how do you charge that?
We do
setup
it
charge?
later.
Do it via the meter?
Yeah.
What you would do in this case is create a new service to manage that charge, which I'm going to go to inventory now and set up. You would have another, under your temporary fence, you could add another service. All right, so we'll just add another service. You would have to manually do this. We don't do it yet, but we will. Installation setup sounds good. Setup. All right, so category is temporary fence. Subcategory could be charges or whatever, right? And then under the rates and kits, we're just going to put it in. Lovely. These boys are doing a great job. So under our item list, now we've got a installation setup charge. Now we are saying, and so if we add it, I'm not sure whether what this will do. Okay, it just put in one, but it will be a manual thing for the moment. All right, so that's $250 for that. Your financials, you just go and create your booking invoice, and that's got your delivery charge. What I've done in my system, I don't know whether you would charge delivery and collection up front or.
We're just doing collection when they when they're off hired and collected.
Sure. Yep. That's the way I've set this up, because in the logistics, I'm just saying we've got a delivery, but we're not worried. Don't know when it's coming back at this point in time, even though we're just doing a 4-week. Because what happens is that when they want to off hire the gear, they would call you and say, well, okay, well, this should be out. Let me just so the boys on the phone, which I showed you before, they would actually just push this out on their phone to say we've delivered and they could edit the panels and the quantities. But with the financials, we've got the invoice for the delivery charge, installation and setup, and the clamps and the temporary fence. Save. I mean, if we were going to take a payment for it, then we could take a payment by direct deposit, credit card, however they're going to pay. We could say, yes, we want to add it status. So basically, so far, there's nothing owed. We've got the payment paid here. And what happens at the end of the first 4 weeks, then we can create the next billing invoice by clicking on the booking invoice button. And this would be actually done through the long-term billing in the financials. All right. And it will just go on. Where the due dates are, because we're not doing them correctly, but you can see 10th of February to 9th of March, 10th of March to 9th of April, and it will just go on until they call you, and then there's an off-hire button, which is this one, and you can then just off-hire the job. Off-hire only. And have the items been returned? No, because we haven't. And now what we do is we set up a collection date. And then under logistics, then we will just go and add our staff. Under this main tab, we're saying when the collection, obviously you would just select whatever date where we are, and put a collection date in. Then you can assign it. And one of the things that happens there, if I save that, is, and because this has just all been done on the one day, it's not going to work, but there's an off-hire full. If you wanted to, the purpose of that is that we're billing from the 10th of May, because this is the last billing range. It'll be 10th of May till whatever day we off-hire it. So we can create an invoice just for that period, 2 weeks or whatever it is. That's what that off-hire full invoice is. Just while we're on that subject, because I could pull some of the gear off, say return some of the fencing, because the job's finishing, we don't need a certain section's done, and they're sending back 50 meters or whatever. So once we return that 50 meters, which is in the logistics, we can then come in and do a partial return and say how much we're returning, and then add that partial return, and then create an invoice for the partial. So what it will do is it will just create the invoice for the stuff we've off-hired from the start of the build to now. But the rest of the fence, or 75 meters, stays on until we off-hire it fully.